What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video on the Ultimate Dino Ninja channel. Yeah, we're gonna pick up the story where we left off, the one y'all voted for, What If Deku Had Soul Leveling. Thank you to Xylo Arts for drawing Deku. And I'm gonna shout out who joined the Discord, and let's jump straight into this. Thank you, TTV Gamer Dylan, BMO, Trozic Boyu, Emotionless 0 Silver Phoenix. Thank you all for joining the Discord. If you guys want to, go check out the description down below and join the Discord. Go check out the gaming channel and just go do whatever y'all want to do. Yeah, so let's jump straight into this. Izuku and Elsie both went to bed in their own beds that night. Izuku woke up bright and early the next morning and continued just some regular basic physical training. He still had to do his daily training every day to make sure, well, he doesn't fall behind everyone else. After he was finished with his daily training, he ended up looking around trying to see what else to do. He found Elsie and Bakugo and they started talking and chatting. After realizing that they all had nothing to do, they all decided to go out for a nice stroll. Eventually, Bakugo started to feel like a third wheel, so he ended up dipping and going his own way. So Izuku and Elsie both just had a pretty pleasant and nice experience with each other. Eventually, while they were waiting and just chilling, the day turned into nighttime. Everyone was looking around for Bakugo. Apparently, he had ran off and no one could find him. This scared Elsie and Izuku both, because they both counted Bakugo as a really close friend, and they didn't want Bakugo to be in any danger/harm. Izuku and Elsie both ended up trying to look around to find him, without any luck. Izuku started to really get scared now. His army at this point was huge, about around 1,000 soldiers. So Izuku ended up summoning 500 of them, scaring most of the people there just by the sheer number. But most people came to their senses once Izuku explained that they were under his control. Eventually, he sent them all out. His soldiers moved very quickly, scanning the entire forest, but they still caught no signs of Bakugo. This confused Izuku even more. He didn't know what was going on. Eventually, one of his soldiers ended up reporting back to him, saying that he found something. When they went there, they found a shred of clothing. The clothing appeared to be black. Izuku had his ice bear servant smell it to see if he can get any scent off of it. The ice bear did get a scent and tracked it up to a location, but noticed it disappeared. When Izuku asked the ice bear whose scent it was, the ice bear responded with a light growl and a tuff, before eventually lamenting that it was a smell of a guy that they had seen earlier. A bad guy, which confused Izuku a lot. And then he realized if the smell just abruptly stopped and there was a bad guy by the words of the bear, most likely it was probably in the League of Villains. And if it was in the League of Villains, that means they probably took Bakugo and ported out using the Shadow Guy's ability to teleport away. This angered Izuku pretty heavily. He ended up telling Elsie, as well as everyone else, what his servant had found. They were all shocked to hear that. They all decided to quickly form a group to go hunt down and try to rescue Bakugo. They quickly left the area and searched around, but they couldn't find him anywhere. This confused them. They kept looking, realizing that the guy that ported out must have went really far. They had no clue, though, where he could be. No possible clue. No way in hell to know where he was. Eventually, Izuku went back to the city. He went back to the city for multiple reasons. One of his main reasons was so that he could go check to see around there using his servants. Eventually, one of the servants caught the scent again and manifested itself outside of a shadow and started to hunt down the person. Izuku was eventually led to a bar where he ended up informing the heroes before he walked into the place. He sat down just like as if any normal person would have sat down. Of course, he had his face partially covered. The bartender noticed this as he asked the boy why he had his half of his face covered. And Izuku responded with, he had half of his face covered for the simplest reason that he was sick and couldn't really reveal his face that well, unless if he wanted to get everyone else at the patronage sick as well. The bartender, giving a understanding nod, allowed him to do that. And then eventually Izuku walked next to the bartender and asked, "So, my friend, have you ever been to a forest lately?" The bartender looked confused, very confused. He was wondering why this boy was asking this. Then he looked into the eyes of the boy. He noticed that he wasn't just any regular man. This boy seemed to be unique, and in the bad sense for them. He seems to know everyone else here, which is never a good sense. So, the bartender played dumb and stated that he had no clue what Izuku was talking about. So Izuku left, and then ended up saying, "Oh, you don't? Well, that sucks, 'cause I know a lot about you." This confused the bartender a lot. He was about to ask the boy what he meant by that, but the boy just laughed and said, "I'm just joking, my guy. What's wrong? You seem to be quaking in your boots while I was talking." The bartender, still suspicious of the boy, played it off like a joke, thinking that the boy had way bigger reasons to act the way he did rather than just for a joke. But he decided not to question the boy too heavily. So he ended up asking the boy, "How old are you?" And the boy was like, "Does it even matter?" The bartender responded, "Yeah, I can't just serve alcohol to any person." The boy once again found this hilarious before he eventually ended up stating, "Well, let's just say I'm old enough to know what you all just did in the forest." Category, realizing that his suspicions were proven true, he said, "Oh, so that's who you are." The boy responded with yes. Then again, Category automatically knew the boy was going to respond with yes. So, he didn't have any time to waste. Understanding that the boy was the way he was. So he said, "And what are you doing here? I doubt you're here to save your friend. You're too weak alone." And that's when the boy smiled again. And he responded, I'm not alone, though. This confused Kataguri. Confused on what the boy meant by saying he's not alone. Suddenly, Kataguri saw hundreds of shadows appear. But they kept coming. More and more and more shadows kept appearing. Then Kataguri realized who the boy was. The boy was a boy that Kataguri remembered. Ever since he first met him. It scared Kataguri. The pure sheer ability of skill. The boy kept summoning more and more creatures. Nah, creatures wasn't even the right term for them. Monsters. Eventually, there were so many that Kataguri didn't know what to do. He tried to pour it out, but he knew that the other villains were there. He clicked the button underneath the desk to alert the villains that someone was here to attack. And all of them came rushing down. First one down was Dobby. Dobby tried to attack Izuku, but failed pretty poorly. Izuku's capabilities were too strong for him, which really saddened Dobby really quickly. As soon as he realized this, he knew that he couldn't beat Izuku. So he sighed and looked at the other members, and they all understood what he was about to say. But just as he was about to do anything, all of Izuku's soldiers attacked him at once. Everyone in there was attacked by Izuku's soldiers. All of them. Too quickly. None of them could react quickly enough. Not even Kataguri. Everyone in that building died. None of them were alive. Eventually, afterwards, Izuku looked at the dead corpses and resurrected every single one of them. He wanted to know what was their decision? Why did they decide to do that? What clicked in their head to make them act this way? Izuku then realized that there was no point in trying to understand someone that has a different mindset than him. He was the Shadow Monarch after all, and even though he didn't know what that means by essence, he still understood that the Shadow Monarch must be somewhat important. So Izuku decided not to care about it for now. Eventually, after wiping all of them out, he retrieved Bakugo and told Bakugo what happened. Bakugo already knew. He could hear the screams of the villains and was shocked that Izuku went that far. Izuku stated that they had to. There was nothing much he could do. They were just going to keep on pestering him, Bakugo, and everyone they know. There was no reason to keep him around. Bakugo then asked, why not just lock him in prison? And Izuku responded, think about it. If you spent your time locking someone away in prison, just for them to eventually break out somehow, what's the difference? Half these villains would have gotten the death sentence. What's the difference between me killing them and them dying in a court? Bakugo could tell that Izuku had changed. It was a subtle change, but it was big enough. The Izuku he knew would never just outright kill people. But this Izuku did. And didn't even think a second. But Bakugo knew that Izuku did this mainly for him. So even though it pained him to see his friend this way, he still understood why. Eventually, Izuku and Bakugo teleport back over to the camp, using Izuku's shadow exchange. After returning to the camp, they made a joke saying that Bakugo just accidentally left and got lost. Almost everyone thought that didn't make too much sense, but they decided to go along with it for now. Izuku ended up laying down in his bed afterwards, tired and exhausted as the day is, but he knew he had to. And that's where I'm going to leave this episode off. If you guys liked it, hit the like button. If you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button. And until next time, goodbye.